Hello everybody, this is Monty with Flowers by the Bunch. So we have got a theme going for this series, and we are doing Disney inspired arrangements. Victoria was pulling out a vase. This is one that was actually brought to us as a recycled container, and it looks almost like a flower or a tulip. It's just so beautiful. And when I looked at it, I said, oh Victoria, I think that that's a Tinkerbell container. And so we are going to use this container for Tinkerbell. So we are going to do a Tinkerbell inspired arrangement. So I didn't have little girls, so I didn't watch very much Tinkerbell, but my sister Robbie watched a whole lot. She said she could probably tell you the lines in the movie. She watched it so much. And so she kind of came up with the idea of the Tinkerbell arrangement. So this is kind of a dough bowl. It's almost, I don't even know, it's more made out of like a bark rather than a solid like hardwood. What we did is I added a piece of fresh floral foam I soaked, and I wrapped it with a little bit of foil paper just so that the water wouldn't go over into the bowl itself. I took a piece of bulldog tape or waterproof tape, and I taped that foam into my little bowl. And it's wanting to come up a little bit right there. Next, what I'm going to do, it's kind of, the bowl is not perfect. It doesn't sit perfectly flat. So it kind of has a little bit of it's just interesting, kind of wonky. But I'm going to take this vase and I'm going to set the vase right over into the container. Next, what I'm going to do is I am going to start by adding some foliage into my fresh floral foam. Now this is about 1/3 of a block of fresh floral foam. It has been soaked in water, so it has filled up completely with water. Anytime when you're using fresh floral foam, always soak it first before you begin to add flowers to it. When you soak it, the flowers will be fine when they're added to the foam. If it is dry, you're going to clog the stems and the flower will not be able to drink the water like it should. So make sure to make a note to always soak your foam first. The first flower I'm going to use, and really y'all, this is more for fun. This is not going to be a long-lasting type of arrangement. This would not be something that I would sell here in the shop. I mean, I could do something, we could figure out a way to sell a Tinkerbell themed arrangement, but for this it's just more for fun than anything. So this is what we call an oak leaf hydrangea. These hydrangeas are actually blooming here in our yard here at the flower shop, and so we thought that we would use some of this oak leaf hydrangea. I also went outside and cut some privet. Privet is a shrub, and it has this really beautiful bloom, little tiny blooms, and it smells so lovely. So I thought we would use some privet. Now, neither one of these are going to do real well in floral foam, but if you were going to do like a party, a birthday party or something like that, and had a Tinkerbell themed party, these things would be perfect. I don't know that I would necessarily use these blooms to give away to someone in hopes that they would last a long period of time. If you're going to do that, you want to put it directly in water. Don't put it in the floral foam. It's going to get so much more water. It's going to be able to drink a lot better if it's directly in water. Okay, I'm going to start out with some of these privet branches. So privet, I'm actually going to take it, I'm using just some snips. I'm going to cut that stem and I'm going to strip some of those leaves off. I'm going to take that branch and just tuck it right into that floral foam. I strip the bottom there, and I'm just tucking it right into that foam. So again, the only time I saw Tinkerbell was in Peter Pan. So I never really watched any of the Tinkerbell movies. So I don't really know exactly all about fairies, but Robbie said that they love to be outdoors, very natural, woodsy outdoors. And so that's the reason we're using all of these fun branches. So I'm hoping I get your vision correct, sister. So I'm just taking these branches, and so I added some here, and then I'm adding them over here in this vase. And I'm just taking my hand and just stripping those leaves right off those branches and just pressing them right into my floral foam. And again, I just went out in the yard and cut these branches. So go ahead and do that. Use what you have to make things fun and creative and interesting. Don't feel like you always have to go and purchase things. If you can find something that would work in your own yard, please use those things. You can also, if you don't have fresh blooms in the yard, go ahead, if you've got some artificial blooms, go ahead and use those in those arrangements. I love to mix and match the artificial blooms with the fresh. I think that's completely okay. Okay, so there's my privet. So I've kind of done branches here, and then I've kind of used those same branches to kind of sweep here. Next, I'm going to come in with, this is another variety of privet. Let's see. Miss Victoria went out and she cut some Iliagnus. So I have some Iliagnus branches, and then this is another type of privet. So I'm going to take some of these, and I'm just going to add a little bit of greenery to my container. And what I'm doing is I really just want to cover that foam. I want to make sure that that foam is completely covered. So I'm just taking small pieces of that privet. And I'm just covering my foam. But this privet, these blooms smell so pretty. Okay, and then I'm going to take this Iliagnus. I'm going to leave it long. I'm going to strip some of the greenery off the bottom of the stem. I'm just going to tuck him right here in the top. You really almost want everything to look like a forest, like it's growing in the forest where the little fairies would live. So this just might be the most fun I have ever had doing a theme for these videos. I love Disney. I have always loved Disney. And I would live in Florida and work at Disney if I could. Maybe that's what I'll do when I retire. I don't know if Jason would let me. But I love Disney. And so it's always fun to do this kind of theme. Okay, so I added some privet down here in the base to kind of cover that fresh floral foam, and then I added some of these branches of the Iliagnus coming out the top because we want it as whimsical as possible. I have a little bit more of this privet, so I'm going to take some of these branches and pull the same variety of privet kind of out this side. And I'm just taking and stripping those leaves off the bottom. And I'm using a pair of snips. You know, often I use a knife, but the reason I'm using snips is it's a little hard to cut a woody stem with a knife. And so that's why I'm using some handy dandy snips. I think they're Victoria's. Okay. All right, so y'all, honestly, that is already so pretty. Like this would be so pretty on a table, honestly, in my opinion. Okay, next let's come in with our hydrangeas. So again, this is called an oak leaf hydrangea, and you look at it and see how whimsical it is. It's really very much something that you would almost see the fairies living in the forest. So what I'm going to do, I'm leaving the foliage on, so nobody fuss at me, because most often I tell you, if you're arranging flowers, to always remove the foliage, because then the water goes directly to the flower instead of the leaves. I know that that is true, but today I am having fun, and I think the foliage really makes this arrangement perfect. So I'm going to take my snips. Again, this is a very woody stem, so I just cut that bloom. I'm going to leave the flowers and the foliage intact, and I'm just going to press that stem right down into that floral foam. Hey, check that camera and make sure it is still going, because I don't have every once in a while it'll stop on me. It's good. Okay. So I'm taking the other part of that stem, I just cut it, and I'm going to press it right down into that floral foam. So see how it's still very, very whimsical? Next we're going to come in with this one. And I am going to put this one up here in this vase. So I'm going to actually cut it in half. I'm going to remove some of these leaves, and I am going to tuck that stem right down into that vase of water. I'm going to take this little part here, cut that stem, and I'm going to stick it over here in the back side. So I'm going to turn it around. It's really just as pretty on the back as it is the front. I am going to be sure to cover this little foam. I don't know if you can see it there, but I'm going to be sure to cover that foam. Here's another tiny little bud. I'm going to tuck him in. Okay, next we're going to come in with some beautiful pink lilies, because it works so great with this vase, and it's so, I don't know, it's so pretty. So I am going to take and remove the pollen from the flower. I'm going to cut that stem at an angle, and I'm going to tuck this right down into this vase. And I'm leaving things a little longer and a little more whimsical than normal. Normally I would come in and I would cut them a little shorter and make the arrangement a little more compact. But I think it's the most fun to be kind of whimsical. I'm going to take this stem and I'm going to cut it in half. I'm going to cut it in two parts. So I removed the bud and the flower. And I'm going to take this little flower, I'm going to twist this around real quick. And I am going to tuck him right down into that foam. And then I'm going to take my bud. And I'm just tucking that in. Next, I have a little bit of larkspur. And so I'm going to take these two stems of larkspur, if I can get them loose out of my bucket. Throwing things on the floor. So this is lark. Now I have never been a huge fan of larkspur, and it's just because it's a little sparing. It's a little sparse. It doesn't have as many buds as, say, delphinium or snaps. Or even bells of Ireland. So I've never been a huge fan of lark. But how fun is it in this fairy arrangement? It really looks like something Tinkerbell might have in her forest. So I'm just going to take and tuck these two stems kind of upright in this container. Now this one I'm going to cut in half. I don't know if you can see these buds. It has such, I will say that larkspur does have great buds. So I'm going to take and cut it in half. So I have my stem, my flower here. I'm going to tuck him kind of over to the side. And then I'm going to take these buds and I'm going to use them in 2 placements. So just stick with kind of a whimsical theme, leave it kind of long and leave it kind of airy. Okay, and then next I'm going to come around and grab some flowers that I dropped on the floor. I think I broke him. Next I'm going to come in with these beautiful lavender roses. So I have these large blooms that are open, really, really pretty lavender blooms. I'm going to turn my arrangement around real quick and see, because I do want them to be seen. So I'm going to take them. Now, most of the time, you will know that I like to wire my roses. Again, this is for fun. This is not for longevity. So I'm just taking these roses and I'm not going to add a wire to them. I'm just kind of tucking those. And you have to be careful because I really didn't make this arrangement to stand up. Look where I tucked those beautiful purple roses. So they're so pretty. I have some pink spray roses that are lovely. They're blown open, which is perfect for this arrangement. I'm just going to take those stems and I'm going to tuck them in. Again, it's all about whimsy. So you want it wild and whimsical and to look as if it's just a garden. So I'm just taking these blooms. Look at all those blooms on that one stem. I'm using my floral knife, cutting that at an angle. Okay, there's our roses. We've got spray roses, we've got standard roses. I've got hydrangeas and larkspur. We've got privet, those blooming branches of the privet. Next, we're going to come in with some of this fun Veronica. Now, I will say, of all the flowers, I think the Veronica really reminds me the most of a fairy. It's just so fun and whimsical and almost looks like little foxes' tails. But we're going to take these and kind of stick them here and there. Just using my floral knife, I'm cutting that stem at an angle. And this is really an arrangement that would work great as an asymmetrical arrangement. That's going to fall over if I don't watch it. Meaning that it's low on one side and it's tall on the other, so it works perfectly for an asymmetrical styled arrangement. These colors are so pretty, aren't they? Okay, next we're going to come in and I'm actually going to take my vase and set it to the side for a second because I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. So I'm going to set it to the side. Next I'm going to come in, because these are so fun. These are called green trick dianthus. So green trick dianthus is in the carnation family, but he almost looks like a Dr. Seuss tree, doesn't he? He's just so fun and whimsical, just a hairy little guy. So I'm going to take my floral knife, cut him at an angle, and I am just going to tuck these stems kind of deep into my foam. And then we're going to tuck a couple of them into this arrangement also so that it blends really well. I'm sorry, I think this privet's got my nose itching over here. Okay, so I have my trick. Next, let's come in with some of these wonderful yellow ranunculus. Now, these are a little older. These stems are a little older. So some of them have a few bumps and bruises, like that one. But I'm going to take this little ranunculus. This might be one of my favorite flowers. It's got lots of ruffles. It's a bloom that has, its petals are just almost like a little girl's dress, like the little ruffles on a dress. So I'm just very softly taking and opening those petals with my finger. But if that's not the prettiest flower, I don't know what is. Now there's lots of pretty flowers, and every other day I have a different favorite flower, but these ranunculus are really close to my favorite. And of course this color is really, really, okay. There is our ranunculus in this arrangement. Now let's tuck a few in this one. And then we have some leaves and some eucalyptus, and we're going to call this arrangement done. I'm taking these ranunculus and I'm just going to tuck a few into this arrangement here. The vase doesn't want to stand up very good. It's got a funny bottom. Okay, let's try that again. I don't know why he has such a funny bottom. Maybe I've got him a little wonky. I'm going to do better. See, he doesn't stand up very well. So he will not be used for a customer's container, because that would not be good, would it? But it's beautiful. Take some of these ranunculus. And I probably have it off balance with my very odd arrangement I have going here, but that's all right. Okay. Got it good and wet. That's all right. Okay, next we're going to come in with a few leaves and a little bit of eucalyptus, and we're going to call this done. So I have a touch of eucalyptus, and these are called aspidistra leaves. So aspidistra leaves come in a solid colored leaf, or it comes in this pretty variegated. My thoughts are leave them long and kind of stick them up almost like little rabbit's ears tucked into this arrangement. And then just a touch of eucalyptus. And what we're going to do with the euc is I'm going to be sure to cover the foam here, so when I set this arrangement, this vase arrangement in this container, that I am being sure that this flower foam, the floral foam, is covered. Okay, so there's our flowers. Some of the water I made a mess with. I'm going to take my vase, I'm going to very carefully reposition my flowers. I love the dripping of those little roses down at the bottom. And now I'm going to set it right into this container. Okay, so to finish this arrangement, I thought it would be a fun idea, and quite honestly, I got this from one of our followers. Miss Dawn Miller said it would be a fantastic idea to put a little lantern in the arrangement for Tinkerbell's house. So I found this fun little metal ornate lantern. I actually got it from a bride several years ago. And so I found this little lantern, and I thought, instead of tucking my vase, you know that my vase is a little bit, it's not quite as sturdy as I wish it would be. So I decided to take the vase and set it to the side of our dough bowl, and let's nestle Tinkerbell's house right down into that dough bowl. Now it's going to make her have a fun little home. That just sits right down into this dough bowl. And then I thought it would be fun if we tucked a few little lights into the arrangement. So I found these little fairy lights. I don't know if you can see them in the video, but they're little fairy lights, and I thought we could actually just kind of weave these into this arrangement. And so at night, our arrangement, if we were having like a fun little party with Tinkerbell, we could have some of these fun little lights nestled over into our arrangement. But there you go, there is Tink's little house we added into the arrangement, and our beautiful vase. And that way now our vase will stand pretty, and it's not gonna, hopefully it won't fall over. and Tink's little house is there ready for her to come home. Guys, thank you so much for being here with me this afternoon. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about how we put things together or anything about the flower shop, please don't hesitate to ask those questions in the comments below. And if you have any suggestions for another Disney themed video, we'd love to have that. Guys, have a great day. We'll see you soon.